Okay, hello everyone. This is Misha Tandon from Sustainability and Adaptation Planning Foundation. We'll be talking about traditional wisdom and climate change adaptation today. We have two other speakers also. Uh, Sean, may I request you to please start the presentation? Okay, so the topic for today is traditional wisdom and climate change adaptation. Let me give you an introduction to my organization also. My organization is called Sustainability and Adaptation Planning Foundation. We work with the vision of mainstreaming sustainable development for climate preparedness of every citizen. We are doing a lot of training programs with government schools and youth to sensitize them on climate change and build their capacity to mitigate and build their resilience to mitigate climate change. We call this Mission 2030 in this decade of action. We are also helping schools make climate resilience plans, wherein we bring students together to identify the hazards they're facing and then how they can build their resilience towards them. I am Misha Tandon. I am an independent consultant in the urban development, water, and climate change section. I'm also head of the NGO that I just talked about. I happen to be an architect planner with specialization in water resource management. I have more than 15 years of work experience in the urban development area, solid waste management, wash, other sectors also. I have worked a lot with the urban local bodies, helping their climate agenda, the urban development agenda, the environment agenda. And I have also been on a lot of international platforms like, you know, Taragram, like World Water Week. And I have also been finalist for the UK Alumni Award 2018 for the social impact sector and finalist at the World Water Challenge in Kyiv. We also have our second speaker, Ms. Neelam Mansaram. She's an architect, planner, scientist, activist, and theoretician. Her architecture has been distinguished for healing the biosphere and well being of the society. Her work has been presented and published widely. She has also been nominated as the World Bamboo Ambassador by WBO in 2018. She has many other accreditations to her name, which I leave for you to read yourself. The next speaker that we have is Mr. Sanjay Singh. He is a water warrior working at the grassroots associated with the waterman, Mr. Rajendra Singh himself, who has won a lot of awards across the world. He started social work in 1995 in the Chambal area of Bundelkhand, which is a water stressed area in India. And he's currently working in 10 districts of one of the states in India, which is Uttar Pradesh, on water security and sustainability related challenges with the community. He has been inspired by Gandhian philosophy, and he has a lot of hats to wear, like the national convener of Jan Jodo Andolan and member of World Water Council. So today's session would comprise of three presentations. The first one would be by me on integrated water resource management and traditional wisdom. Then we'll have Mr. Neelam Mansaram talk about traditional techniques for the new normal, looking at the bamboo connection. And then we'll have Mr. Sanjay Singh talking about village water user master plans. So let me start with the presentation on integrated water resource management and traditional wisdom. So, what is the need for an alternative approach? Why do we need an alternative approach? We've seen so many floods in Chennai, which is in South India. We have also seen the same city face 0 day. 0 day means the water reservoirs of the city drying out completely and there being no water for the city to supply. We've seen so many cyclones, Fani, Vayu, Amphan in the Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea region. We are seeing sea level rise, and Mumbai, one of the main cities of India, is likely to be almost more than half of it is likely to be submerged by 2050. We have also recently seen the Chamoli disaster in the northern Himalayan region of India, where an entire hydropower project was washed down by the floods that came. And we've also seen temperature above normal in Antarctica. So climate change is definitely happening, and it's happening at a very fast rate. That is why we need an alternate approach. And this alternate approach can be integrated water resource management. But this is not a new concept. It has been around for several decades, millennia, I would say. We see the Mohenjo-daro and Harappa ancient civilization, where there have been sophisticated water conservation systems, water harvesting, measures for sewerage and drainage. More than 700 wells were there, water supply, and earliest public bath in the ancient world. We've also had traditionally the village councils taking decisions on water distribution in and around the city and the village. So, what is IWRM, or Integrated Water Resource Management, in the present day context? It is based on the Dublin principles, wherein you have some principles like fresh water is finite and vulnerable. Water management and development should be participatory and by involving users. Women play a central role, and water has economic value to it. These are the principles which govern IWRM, and there are certain principles, set of principles rather, developed by Global Water Partnership. I'll talk through some of them, which are managing water resources at the lowest possible level, which means that you need to go down from the central to the state to the local and maybe even the community level to manage water resources. There is also a need to optimize water supply and manage demand. We talk about the Karnataka water policy, which is taking an approach wherein you're not just looking at fulfilling the demands of water use. You are also taking up measures to curtail the demand and make do in whatever water you have available for your city. The other principles are providing equitable access to water resources through participatory and transparent governance and management. So it has to be involving all stakeholders and with transparency. And as I said, there's an intersectoral approach which is very, very necessary to decision making. If I'm planning for water, I need to involve the town planners, I need to involve the forest, the biodiversity, the energy guys, a lot of stakeholders who might seem unrelated to the problem we are talking about, because we are probably talking about building a pipeline. But all these approaches of different sectors need to be brought together while planning for water resources. So, how can we implement IWRM? We'll talk you through some case studies. The first case study is from Himachal Pradesh, which is located in the Himalayan region of India. So, I'd done rainfall runoff modeling for 13 years for one of the cities, which is called Shimla. And what we found was that the base flow is very, very important, and forests are very, very important in conserving this base flow. They enable higher infiltration, they allow gradual release of water after storm events, and they enable higher porosity to facilitate infiltration of water. As you can see in these graphs, the red line indicates the base flow, which is higher when you have more forests above and lower when you have less forests. Now, what we also found was that springs are very, very important to sustaining base flow. Springs are formed when the water reaches the bedrock and keeps flowing through it gradually and does not immediately lead to flooding downstream. So, this time delay is also very, very crucial for base flow. And springs provide climate resilience to vulnerable communities in urban as well as rural areas. So it is very, very important to conserve these springs and their spring sheds. Another case study that I have is from Burhanpur, Madhya Pradesh, which is a semi arid area in the center of India. This is located along a river named Tapi. And if you can see my browser, just let me get a pointer, right? So we see the hill areas of Satpura ranges here, We see the river Tapi flowing here, and we're talking about a traditional wisdom based structure which is called Kundi Bhandara, which is a set of tunnels flowing from the foothills of Satpuras right up to the Tapi River. So this that you see is an underground tunnel carrying water from the foothills of Satpura to the river Tapi, and it has wells at regular intervals through which people can take water. This was built actually during the Mughal era, because the emperors feared that the enemy might poison their waters in the river, and they wanted an alternate source of water for their army. That is the purpose with which this was built, but it is still being used for water supply to the city even to this day. This is based on the Kanat system, wherein you have water flow coming right from the top of the hill, and you have these wells to take water from, and then it gradually reaches and meets the river. Although there has been a lot of calcification along these walls of the Kanat, which has reduced the discharge, but this is still a very, very effective way of conserving water, water harvesting. We have another case study from Rajasthan, which is a desert region in India. There, with very, very scanty rainfall happening, the traditional wisdom showed how there were interconnected ponds. So, water from one pond would keep on flowing to the other pond so that there is no wastage of water. All the overflow was collected and sustained and retained. We have these kind of wells and bowries. These bowries and sagars are huge structures where you have a very, very good concept that water quality is matched with water use. You have larger ponds which are used for washing of animals and for agriculture. There were smaller structures which were used for drinking water for animals, and then these kind of wells which were separate and were used for drinking water for humans. So there is a categorization of how water is being used and how water is being stored. And we see these kind of examples all across India, and there are measures being taken to do rainwater harvesting in these structures to revive them even till this date. The last case study that I'm going to talk about today is from Mandakini in the Bundelkhand region where Mr. Sanjay works. So basically, Bundelkhand region and especially the Chitrakoot area is very, very scarce in terms of water resources because the groundwater withdrawal is extremely critical, around 72% groundwater development, and the the urban area there has approximately 97% groundwater withdrawal, which is very, very high. The water table is declining very, very fast, and there is no floodplain demarcation of Mandakini. This blue line that you see, this is the only river in the region, and there's no floodplain demarcation. There is pollution happening. There are untreated wastewater nalas which are entering. The river also has catchment area issues which spread over two different states. So there are managerial issues, and you also have forest fires being induced by the tribals for clearing of forests for various activities. The evaporation rate in this area is also very high, and nearly one third of the water is lost to evaporation. What was also found on discussion with stakeholders was that whenever you're building anything like steps, which are called ghats in the Indian context, so whenever these kind of steps to access the water are being built, they're leading to reduction in the spring flow. And there are regular check dams across the entire length of Mandakini, which are blocking the flow during monsoons and leading to a lot of siltation of the river. So we proposed a holistic water cycle based approach wherein we proposed measures for catchment management, channel management, agriculture, water supply, storm water, and wastewater. There are a lot of details that we proposed, but I'll take you through an overview of some of the steps. So there's this concept in European cities for room for rivers, wherein you provide room for the river to expand during, say, monsoons in India, wherein the river can claim the floodplain and replenish itself. So these kind of proposals we have incorporated to allow the river to expand during monsoons. What we've also proposed is traditional rainwater harvesting structures to retain the runoff, like we saw in the earlier Kanat system. So we are proposing that runoff along the hill slopes be retained and collected at a lower level. What we are also proposing is early warning system. Although there is some flooding that happens in this catchment, the early warning systems with real time catchment monitoring of all the meteorological and hydrological parameters will help in drought management in the catchment as well. What we are also proposing is a series of interconnected ponds to collect the runoff that is coming from the slopes and retain it before it reaches the river or the groundwater table. Such structures to tap the rainwater at regular intervals along the contours are also proposed. We're also proposing a lot of forest pockets of Miyawaki forest, which can grow quickly and revive the forest cover in the area. And we're also proposing check dams with openable gates. So, as I said, there are a lot of evaporation related issues. So we are also proposing that solar panels can be floated atop the water bodies to reduce the loss in water due from evaporation. What we are also proposing is a series of blue green infrastructure corridors, which can be in the form of green sponges, blue sponges, retention ponds, swales, reed beds for polluted water treatment, and green roofs, and many other measures which can be spread across the urban fabric to with the aim of A, retaining more runoff, B, helping in recharge, reuse, and also treating the contaminated wastewater that comes through. So, this was a summary of case studies from my side. Thank you very much. Over to you, Sean. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll request Miss Neelam Mansaram to please present on traditional techniques for the new normal, the bamboo connection. Miss Neelam Mansaram, over to you, please.
Yeah, thank you, Misha, and uh, thank you for the opportunity to speak in such an August forum on and a topic that can we start from the beginning? Yeah, traditional technologies for the new normal, the bamboo connection. I will be talking about, taking you through. The bamboo has been a part of our culture, especially in the tropics and the subtropics for centuries together. Uh, and we definitely have developed a culture, and we know how to live with bamboo. I'm from CGBMD. I'm the co-founder, not co-founder. I'm the founder, managing trustee, and the CEO at the moment, and I'm trying to take the sustainability thing forward. I'm also part of the C40 cities forum, a cohort where also I'm using bamboo for mitigation for climate change for the Bangalore city. We are doing various programs. So today I will be talking about how the traditional technologies from of that we have with bamboo can actually help in the new normal. We all know about the COVID thing that has happened, which has actually put us into on our back foot. All the development that has been happening, COVID put a complete halt to the whole world for almost more than 2 years. And how do we now take it forward to the traditional technology? May I, Misha, may I request you to change the, yeah, thank you. So bamboo, we have around 1,700, species of bamboo in more than, several genres across the world, especially found in tropics, subtropics, and also in subtemperate zones. And the traditional wisdom that has been actually adopted by various people, because bamboo was abundantly is abundantly available even now, and, has been being lost, in the several, I think, last 100 years or so, which actually can give us a lot of pointers as to how to go forward in the climate to for the mitigation of climate change. And I will go one by one. Though I am an architect, I have been working with bamboo for various kinds of purposes, starting from which I will just be taking you through the journey here. I can have the next slide, please? Yeah. So bamboo is a grass. It belongs to the grass family and grows very fast. And some of the species can grow up to approximately 4 feet or 1.2 meters in a day. Not all species, but many of the species can do that. And due to its rapid growth, it actually fixes carbon dioxide and also absorbs harmful gases from the atmosphere. And this is so one is that it is mitigating the air pollution, I mean CO2, also air pollution, and it also a highly resource efficient material because it grows very fast. It's also locally available in the tropics in our area, and it is widely available across the world as well, except in Europe, and there are also some varieties have been introduced recently. And since it's locally available, the transportation energy actually to transport the material is actually completely, it's completely reduced, making bamboo an overall a very sustainable material to use in our daily lives. Next slide, please. Also bamboo, the way the structure of the bamboo is ever ready to use. We don't need to use very high profile kind of tools to cut it or process it. And once we cut it, it can become a column or a beam or some other element to be used. It and it is used, and so the labor also, we don't need to have a very high machine or labor which is more what do you call that, skilled labor. We can have simple labors who can act, and with simple tools they can process the bamboo in a very neat manner for different kind of uses. It is also light and hollow and is stiffened at the nodes, making it highly flexible. And this property of flexibility and with the nodes and the lightness makes it one of the best materials to build in disaster prone areas, where in typhoons or in high winds or in floods, the buildings actually can be what we generally call as dynamic buildings, which actually sway little and do all that, but still they don't get damaged, unlike the cement and steel buildings like that. Yeah, may I have the next slide? This has been a traditional material, and there are various kinds of typologies, and here are some of the uses. As you can see here, we have the bridges, we have dwellings, we had many other daily uses materials that was being used. And what it means, this particular slide, what it's trying to show, that it has been in our fabric, the cultural fabric, for a very long time. So we are very comfortable using it, though we have have not been able to be using it for a long time. But I have been working with for the last 25 years, and I have found that even people who have not used it in the between for a long time, if we just try to do some project or something like that, it's almost as if it is there in their DNA, and we are able to do different kinds of usages that we are able to take out of bamboo. Yeah, next slide, please. Bamboo has got very fibrous roots. The roots are fibrous. It spreads, and so it prevents soil erosion. And so there are two types, one can say. One is that growing bamboo, which actually binds the soil, so it prevents the soil to run off, in different situations. And it has also been used traditionally to make embankments And also this kind of structure on the right down, that as you can see, these are made actually to check the soil erosion from the mainland, by the side of the sea or the river, on all these kind of places. What you see at the bottom is from Bangladesh on the right side, and from the left side this is done in India. The top one that you see is also from India. I think this is in the northeast. So these are some of the structures which are very easily made. It can be made from bamboo and it can be used for soil erosion. It were being used and we can again use them today. Yeah, can I have the next slide, please? We all have been, hearing about lot of floods in all over the country, and even places where there never used to be floods, there are floods now. So again, even for flood prevention, earlier bamboo since has got these roots and it's very thick at the bottom, and it's like there are a lot of in our tropics we generally have these what we call as sympodial bamboo, which has got lot of clumps, and those clumps actually reduce the velocity of the river when the river is flowing in a very, especially in the flood prone areas. One is through that, through its roots and its culms, which is at the base of the culms, and the other one is like these kind of structures which are traditionally being were being made, and even now they are being used in various rural and far-flung areas to check the flow of the flood when the river is and the water is flowing at a fast speed, and because of that the damage due to the floods can be actually extremely reduced. Can I have the next slide, please? Bamboo can also be used for riverbank protection, and it grows very well by the riverside, and in most of the places when you have this earlier it was being used even in parks when there were water bodies around, and it was being used for that. So you can see that there is one of the what you have on the other side, the plant bamboo thing. It's for erosion control, for all these purposes that we talked about, by flood, for soil erosion, for riverbank protection, for flood protection, for all these kind of purposes. We can actually plant bamboo and use bamboo poles or the culms, what we call, in different ways to mitigate the climate change, the floods and things they go to the climate change. Yeah, next. We also, it's a very important, this is in China, they are using it again now. Earlier also it was being used. Bamboo for phytoremediation. Now we have STPs and we have all these cities which actually put all the sewage, in the lakes and all these water bodies, and all this is carried downstream to the rural areas where rural people get this polluted water to actually drink and use it for their daily purposes. Bamboo can be planted in these areas, and bamboo, if you see here, this is what is showing that if you plant a bamboo like this, you can see in the nodes all the toxic material actually from the river and the water gets absorbed into it. It has been found that it gets absorbed into it, and then the river can be actually talking further down. In fact, as a matter of this thing, even we had actually submitted a proposal in Karnataka High Court for the rejuvenation of lakes and also Rajakaluways. Rajakaluways are like not encroachment, the areas that is surrounding the water body, uh, the catchment basins, what they call. For that, if we use bamboo, it is a very good way of actually protecting the thing. And the High Court of Karnataka actually has approved it, and it also has been given as a mandate for all the other lakes to take it forward. We did that with ESG Foundation, in Environment ESG Foundation of Bangalore, from Advocate Saldana. We had put up this thing in the High Court, and that also has been approved. The second thing, the way is also for water purification. The water purification even in the houses and all that. Earlier, also in China and Japan, it was being used to sweeten the water for tea. But has been found, and now lot of research has been done in this area. This is being used because the surface area of the bamboo charcoal is very, very high, and due to that it can be used for water purification. In the water purifiers it can be used. It can also be used as air purifiers actually, because it takes in all these gases from the air, and they have been found to be very useful. And this bamboo charcoal is also now being used in toothpaste and all these skin care products, because they are very suitable for those purposes. So this is a traditional material which is being used now in many other ways, and for eco-friendly products, for better health and for better other environment, etc. Can I have the next slide, please? Now I'm coming to the buildings with bamboo, which was actually the major usage. So once we plant bamboo for using it for phytoremediation and all this, now these bamboos they grow. So you have a resource, and that can be used for, that was also being used for housing and other structures. So this, the buildings were actually a major usage of bamboo in the past as well. And a lot of research has been happening around the world for to find out sources, I mean materials which can actually work in a way that we do lot of development, at the same time we do not increase the carbon emissions from the development, because we cannot stop development. In India, we have one of the lowest HDI, that is Human Development Index, and we really need to change that. And for that development, so in this process, mud and bamboo, these are two major materials which have been found to be very like low energy, low processing, and all other kind of benefits from there, even health benefits have been there. In that scenario, this is a comparison sustainability, though the source has been written from somewhere else. This particular building was done by me, and the calculation also was done by me for my one project in Indira Gandhi Musical Fountain, where we had done the solar, this energy park, where we wanted to showcase different energy options. In that one, I had done a building which was made with bamboo, because it's a low energy material. And so if you can see from this calculation, to have a 1000 square feet house with similar structural performance, the amount of emission is about 7 times less than a conventional house, and hence it is as many times more sustainable. So this is one major factor why we are, and especially our organization and me and the world over, people are trying to switch to bamboo for buildings, in various areas, and all kinds of buildings can be done with it. May I have the next slide, please? Yeah, so this is a comparison in the conventional construction, which is present in abundance, naturally. On the side, on the other side, you can see the high cost of inputs for production, high energy efficient and environment friendly. On the right side, you can see that creates pollution and depletion of natural resources, reducing the carbon footprints. But and on the conventional one, there's a huge amounts of carbon is added to the environment. Easy construction techniques, cost effective. And on the other side, the normal construction, what is called the normal construction today, has got the high cost of production and maintenance. We also promote the vernacular architecture. Though I don't like to use the word vernacular, I would rather like to use the word as eco-friendly architecture, or something like that, what you can say. Uh, I think I already discussed that this creates a lot of local employment and a lot of sociological impact that we have, because we have been talking about the three: people, planet, and profit. So when we are using bamboo and we are using mud and these kind of related technologies for all these things that we are generally talking about, we are also creating local employment, which will be, and once that is generated, the economies from this, because when people use bamboo, the money will actually flow from the farmer to the higher section of the society. And when we actually buy cement and steel and things like that, even a farmer buys, the money flows from the farmer to the higher corporations. So by using these materials, we are, or the technology, traditional technology, we are also creating a reversal of the economy, and putting money right where it is supposed to be doing, for the Human Development Index. So it will have a huge sociological impact along with environmental impact. Can we have the next slide? Yeah, so this was, I think I roughly told earlier that bamboo can be used, and it has been being used for disaster prone areas for a very long time. People knew that using this material is beneficial, and because in most of the flood situation or any of the situations that we have of disasters, it is the building collapsing on people which does more damage than the disaster itself. And most of the damages happen and the deaths happened of men, and also of our livestock and everything, because of these huge structures collapsing on the people. So if we have structures which are dynamic structures which adjust to these disasters, and they also lightweight, and these kind of when we have these kind of constructions, they will do minimum damage during these disaster prone areas. One, and second, interim shelters. With bamboo we can have interim shelters done within no time. We don't need to wait, because what is happening most of the time, we have these interim shelters which are done immediately, and after that the actual rehabilitation of all these people which are affected by disasters, and we would rather say environmental refugees that we have now, because that's what we can call it, the disaster related problems that happen, and shelters that we have to do, that takes a very long time. And in that whole period people's lives keep on going on. So with bamboo, when we are actually building, we can within a month we can actually create, and with people's help themselves, we can create these shelters. The interim shelters can be converted also into a proper permanent shelter and rehabilitation center for all these people, and that will really, save a lot of psychological trauma to the disaster victims or the environmental refugees. This is there also. Bamboo is a very it's a one of it's a phenomenal material actually to build. Yeah, and serviceability also of these bamboo based buildings are much higher than cement and concrete, because even if they get damaged, you can actually just simply repair it, and it also gets back to its own old self, which is not the case with your concrete and cement and all those kind of buildings. Yeah. Next, can I have the next slide, please? Now, again, for the masses, when we are talking about the masses and the mass housing, since bamboo is available aplenty, we can actually use it for mass housings. And I'm not talking about only mass housing for the poor. I'm talking about housing even for small. The top one, what you see here, is a housing that we have done in the forest areas in Rajmundry, in Andhra Pradesh, in India, and where this was a prototype that we developed of about 250 to 300 square feet with a single room and all that, which can be used. The bottom, what you see, is in Bangalore, and it is for urban people. It's a 2-bedroom house, and this we did it long ago, and a lot of people after this started building, and they wanted to build with bamboo. And these are improvisations, as you can see from the left side. These are the traditional systems, the way they used to be building. This is the Assam house. And so these buildings that you see here, the system that is developed by IPIRTI, which is Indian Plywood Research Institute, in Bangalore, it is an improvisation from the traditional techniques which is done with bamboo. And it could be also a wattle and daub, it could be ikra, it could be this Assam house. These were traditional technology already existing, which have been taken forward, and we are trying to promote it in the mainstream construction in urban areas as well. Next, can we have? Yeah, and this slide shows you how bamboo can be integrated in the contemporary language with any kinds of buildings that you can do. The left top building is by Simon Welles, which was done in the Hanover in 2000, at the turn of the century, when we were talking about Millennium Goals at that time, which later got changed to Sustainable Development Goals. At that time, this was at the end of the century. This was for the World Expo in Hanover in 2000, and it was a statement of how the world is going to build and move forward in the next century. So this was done. This is 20,000 square feet. This was really a example. This is all bamboo, and the bottom left, what you can see is the interiors. You can see very trendy interiors. This is my office, Bamboo Symphony, where I'm sitting right now, and it's almost 11 years old. And I have used bamboo with a lot of different kinds. I use BFRC, which is bamboo fiber reinforced concrete. And I'm not going to say that these are new things that I am doing. These are again upgrades from what bamboo reinforced slabs were being done and are still being done in rural areas for a very long time. We are only again retaking it in a different manner, and we are putting it in a contemporary context. You can see this house, which is as contemporary and good looking as any other material can give you. Even this, you can see, there's such beautiful good houses. This is a uh, conference hall that we have done in the University of Dalbagh University in Agra. And this is 6,000 square feet with a 60 feet span. And you can see the structure completely done with bamboo here, and it's a span-free structure. And this is also from the same one. This is a veranda outside, a different kinds of. The material is same, but the vocabulary we have slightly changed. The principles are same, the way it was being used traditionally. So it can also be used for mainstream construction, and that, as we know across the world, that the construction industry is the biggest polluter and the carbon emitter in this whole world, in any country for that matter. And if we are able to integrate this bamboo into that construction field and in the industry, we will be, and I think I showed you a table, 7.1 times less straight away. Straight away will be reducing the carbon emission that much time in most of our buildings. Yeah, next. Yeah, I've been lots of daily uses, things. I've been trying to treat. This is in Madhya Pradesh, in Harda district. We have trained almost around 300 people out there, and these they are doing lots of products which are for daily life. Instead of using plastic, we have tried to turn them back towards natural materials. So these are some of the products they have made actually. Next. These are from the same training program. You can see fixtures, light fittings, daily wear, and these are all for even not just I'm saying this is for rural. This is for any urban space. All these things actually can be used. Next. Bridges is another thing. In the left, which you see, this is a bridge in Patna, which is used for one of the festivals called Chhat out there, where there's a lot of and people have used this bamboo to make it into a bridge for their usage. And this also, you can even drive a SUV over it. Actually, it's so sturdy. And this study, and there are many other varieties. Bamboo bridges have been there, and even now in Himalayan regions and the northeast region of India, some of the bamboo bridges are 1,200 years old, 1,200 feet long, which are is a hanging bridges, what we call, which is for pedestrian. On the right side is a bridge that we have done in Delhi in 2005, 2006. It is still exists there. And this is for a biodiversity park that we had done. This was a 50 feet span, around 15 meters and plus change. And this was in a completely a biodegradable situation. I'm not saying we can do all hundreds of kilometers of bridge with bamboo, but wherever it can be used, why should we use any other material? So this will actually mitigate, as I said, the carbon emissions to a lot of extent. Next. To this end, we have been doing a lot of. I'm running courses through my CGBMT, which is Center for Green Building Materials and Technology, since 2011. And as you can see, this is the World Bamboo President's visit, which is to our center in Bangalore. We have been doing different kinds of programs, done more than now up to almost 100 workshops, several almost around 200 lectures across the world in different forums, World Bamboo Organization, World Bamboo Congress, Sustainable World Building Conferences. I've been going around doing advocacy for this particular project. Even went to Venice Biennale. We did a 6 months exhibition in Venice in 2016. Next, can we have the next slide? Yeah, this is another example where which we did with two architecture schools, RS School of Architecture Denmark and Care College Trichy. And this is using arcanut plate making, what people generally use traditionally, to use as a roofing panels, and bamboo for this kind of a structure, which is a shell structure. Which generally people don't do shells with bamboo, but we wanted to use it for, this is for a farmer's pavilion. So, and we have used all these, the shell is like a cocoon because they are into sericulture in a big way. And the other traditional materials they had been using for their sericulture. We tried to use the same techniques and things that they were using into a new vocabulary, in future in the for these kind of buildings. Next slide, can you see? And this has been nominated for several awards. Next slide. Yeah, you can see this particular project was taken for Fiber Awards in 2019, and this is a exhibition in Paris with the mayor of Paris, and the organizer of the program. This is Anna Heringer. This is the World Bamboo president, and you can see we had shown the way the things are being done, and they have proposed that they will be giving us some assistance to take this as a proper seriously as a building thing forward. So these are kind of technologies which can be promoted and needs to be taken. It can be taken forward, and we are trying to do our best in doing that. Next. This is another project that we are. It's a traditional Toda community. Is a UNESCO heritage tribe in Ooty area of Tamil Nadu, and this is the way they actually have been building for several years. And these structures are done completely with natural materials. They are thermal insulation is very good, and they last around 25 years. Uh, but what has happened is, after the Britishers came, these people, and when they were leaving, probably these people, Toda community has been put in the category of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, and they are not able to extract the material for their houses from the forests. So we were approached by NGO from Ooty, who have been working more than 50 years with these Toda people, trying to promote their culture, traditional cultures. And we were asked to. So this is the prototype. This is what they actually had. This is a traditional one, and this is what we have proposed. And we had with the High Court. Justice of High Court from Tamil Nadu, we had an exhibition where we exhibited our the prototype proposal, and we are trying to do it with alternative natural building materials. So we have done a material mapping to see that the tradition actually continues, because it's very easy to start using these aluminum sheets and plastic kind of thatch, synthetic thatch and all that, which we all know that these are threatened tribe. There are only 2,000 of them in the world today in that region. And if these microplastics and all these kind of things start getting into their their area, we would completely lose this tradition and the things completely. This is another we are trying to do even conservation of these kind of techniques to actually start seeing. And this has been built in such a way that the new generation also wants to live in these Toda huts. So how do you integrate these traditional technologies into without losing that environmental and societal vocabulary into something which is also contemporary at the same time and acceptable to people in this era. Yeah, next. Can I have? And this is one more technique in Madhya Pradesh, which I have tried to use, of weaving. And the Gond artist on there, which they were using, they use a very different kinds of decoration techniques, which they use in their houses for ventilation and all these kind of things in their windows and all, and also in the front of the house. I use that to make into a shell with bamboo and mud, which is again a traditional material. And I presented it at the IASS, Indian International Association of Shells and Spatial Structures in Barcelona. So how do you take this traditional systems to a very synergetic structure, which are considered the top of the line or cutting edge kind of buildings across the world? And it is possible to do it. We are even now we are actually have a building like this under construction in Bangalore in one of our campuses. I can have the next slide. Yeah, this is the technique. As you can see, these people are proficient in doing this, and how I have tried to integrate it into the building in a new vocabulary, in a new manner. So this can be really done, and so their livelihood and their techniques can be preserved, and it can also add to having these very cutting edge kind of contemporary structures with traditional materials and traditional techniques. Yeah. Next slide, please. Recently, we did a World Bamboo Day very recently, and we have tried to use now the rural people, in the rural Bangalore. We took the government school children, from the farming community, and we are trying to again put it back to them for planting bamboo. So we distributed a lot of bamboo saplings. We spoke to them about it, and we also the usage of bamboo. So we did several workshops for them. How do you integrate this traditional technology? This was one of the ways at the grassroots level that we are trying to do. Yeah, next. And this is what is my dream. If you see the person on the right, he is Anandilal, and he is from Jharkhand. He is Gopal. He is from Bihar, and they have been with us for approximately 15 years. And you see the dean of RS School of Architecture, Denmark, and you see the confidence and the thing, the way the traditional technologies being actually forwarded and to one of the best architecture schools in the world. I mean, that's how I think it should be, making taking our traditional bamboo based community people or the community people and directly integrating them into the mainstream at the international platform. Next slide. This is the last slide. This is that building in Maihar, Madhya Pradesh, which I spoke about. This is a mud and bamboo shell, and this is the inside of it. And there are a lot of people, as you can see, they have been coming here. So this was like, you completing the whole cycle. So you have water pollution, you have air pollution, you plant bamboo, you check the flood, you mitigate disaster, you mitigate carbon emission. These bamboos, when it grows, gives you resources to build your building, to build your in your daily life, giving you all these products. And when they again the life cycle finishes, you can make them into bamboo charcoal, and you can again reuse it for gasification and all these other. So it's a whole cycle being completed. It's a very cyclic, circular way of using bamboo, and that's what I just wanted to share. And it was there traditionally in our systems. We are just trying to further take it in the today's time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was really enlightening, seeing the wide range of uses to which bamboo can be put. Now, I think we can conclude the session. Thank you so much for taking time out for this. And we hope that the listeners also like this. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Combating climate change is the biggest engineering project on the planet. And there are solutions. Because there is action. Braskem is removing CO2 from the atmosphere in the production of chemicals and plastics from plants. Using more and more renewable energy sources,
improving the energy efficiency
of our industrial units, and developing technology to transform the greenhouse gases emitted into new products. Because there is only one way to make a more sustainable future. Together.